So Donald Trump has essentially declared war on China. He has imposed 145% tariffs on all Chinese imports into the United States or exports out of China. China, in response, has put a 125% tariffs on U.S. exports to China, which is mostly agricultural goods, lumber, coal, and iron ore. We send them raw materials, they send us finished goods. That's, kind of the definition of a third world country that does that. So, I think it's reasonable to try to rebalance that. But the way that Trump is doing this, 145% tariffs, this is declaring war against a country that their economy is roughly the same size as ours. Their navy is larger than ours. Their army is larger than ours. Their nuclear weapons stockpile is growing by the day, and they don't mess around. And President Xi is facing a bit of an internal crisis right now with deflation and a housing market that has just burst, a bubble that has burst. And he's not going to do anything that's going to weaken him politically. But if you really want to see where the danger to America is, consider this list. Dysprosium. Dysprosium is used in magnets for wind turbines and electric vehicles, as well as military applications like missile systems. Terbium. These are all, by the way, these are all rare earth minerals that China supplies to us. Terbium, essential for high-performance magnets and optical devices. Lutetium, utilized in advanced medical imaging technologies. Yttrium, which is found in lasers and displays and superconductors. Neodymium, crucial for permanent magnets used in electric motors. Praseodymium, used in magnets and alloys for aircraft engines. Samarium, applied in magnets and nuclear reactors. Gadolinium, important for medical imaging and magnetic refrigeration technologies. And scandium, used in aerospace components and fuel cells. Time magazine did a piece a couple of days ago about how China has just in response, this was 2 or 3 days ago, the initial response to Trump's tariffs, China retaliated by placing exports restrictions on these rare earth minerals that I just named, or at least some of them, many of them. And they note, Time magazine notes, the ripple effects could be extremely painful across many American industries. Dysprosium and terbium, for example, are found in smartphones' vibration units. Neodymium powers the motors of electric vehicles. Tungsten and ultra-hard metal is used in ammunition, semiconductor chips, and alloys found in jet engines and deep drilling rigs. All of these materials are mined and processed by China, which has spent decades aggressively building out the infrastructure to do so. This one analyst, an engineer at RAND actually, says, consider this an opening shot across the bow. This is the neodymium and praseodymium that China's using as a bargaining chip, apparently. He says it could cripple U.S. defense companies like Lockheed Martin, which needs rare earth for components in missile systems. And notes that it would be at least 8 to 10 years before we could start mining these things ourselves. People are also speculating that the other major source of many of these minerals appears to be Greenland. And in fact, Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos have both invested in mining companies that are looking at Greenland, that are prospecting right now as we speak in Greenland for these rare earth minerals. So, in America, we revere con artists, and this, what Trump is doing here is a giant con. If he really wanted to bring manufacturing back to the United States, he would do it rationally. He would do it step by step. He would do it the way that it's always been done. He would go to Congress and he would say, "You guys pass these tariffs so that they will be there permanently." No company is going to build a factory in the United States because Donald Trump issued an executive order. Because they all know that A, he could change his mind next week, as he just did yesterday, and B, he's not going to be president forever. And the next president can simply reverse the executive order. Not so easy if Congress passes a law. So, the one thing that businesses want above everything else is certainty. I think that, in many ways, this is doing the same kind of damage to America that Brexit did to England. And who was it who was telling the British? We learned after the fact. Who was it who was telling the British, hey, you need to separate from the European Union. It'll weaken England and weaken the European Union. I mean, they didn't say that, but, you need to separate from the European Union, and that'll get those damn immigrants out of England. Who was that? Oh, that was Putin. That's right. Do you think Putin's telling Trump to kick China in the teeth? I mean, Putin would just love for us to get into a trade war with China. It will hurt us. It will hurt us badly. We're going to start seeing massive inflation soon. And so even if this doesn't devolve into a shooting war, and my fervent hope is that it doesn't, although I think it's entirely possible that it may, particularly if China says, okay, screw this, we're going to take Taiwan now. Or we're going to get more aggressive around the Philippines or some of these other smaller islands. The Philippines is not a small island. It's a huge collection of islands, and some of them very large. But you get my point. There's in the South China Sea, there's all these conflict points. I mean, China, in 2010, China got into a pissing war with Japan over, I don't recall the details of it, but what I do remember is that they cut off two critical minerals that Japan needed to manufacture chips. And that was the end of that. I mean, Japan just rolled right over. Well, they're doing that to us right now. And what blows my mind is there's virtually no mention of it in the media. I mean, you can Google it, you can look it up. It's out there. Like I said, Time magazine did a piece on it, but it's not front and center. That Trump is playing checkers and China is playing chess. That Trump is throwing rocks, and China is got a sniper figuring out where the heart is that they need to hit. And it looks like it's going to be the rare earths. And, it also looks, to me, frankly, like Trump may be doing an awful lot of this just to jack the market. I mean, he was bragging day before yesterday about how the billionaires in his cabinet were making billions and billions of dollars by having gotten out of the market just before he declared his tariffs and getting back into the market when he put his tariffs on pause. And now there's reporting, I had mentioned this day before yesterday, and then I backed off and apologized, saying, well, I can't substantiate it, but now I'm seeing reporting that some members of Congress, specifically Marge Green, but maybe, or maybe Marge Green, are doing the same thing. And Adam Schiff is talking about, and Ron Wyden talking about opening an investigation into insider trading. This has been an absolute roller coaster. And then let's not forget the other thing, again, that our media doesn't talk about, which is that Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, previous to his current job, was the president or chairman, I believe chairman is the title, of both the Bank of England and the Bank of Canada. This guy understands how to use finance to just bring a country to its knees. And he apparently, I've seen reports of this. I haven't seen it widely reported, and the reports that I've seen are kind of third order or third party. They're not the primary sources. But my understanding, and please fact check me on this, look it up. But my understanding is that Mark Carney called a meeting with some of his British counterparts, the heads of some of, or not British, European counterparts, some of the European countries, a number of the European countries, and Japan was in the room, and said, collectively we hold trillions of dollars in U.S. treasuries, and if we start selling these treasuries in a big way, it will really damage America. It'll drive down the dollar, it will drive up the interest rates, which will make borrowing more expensive, it'll raise mortgage rates in the United States, it'll raise credit card rates, it'll make it harder for businesses to get money to start and expand. It'll make it harder for people to get home mortgages. Not to mention the treasuries as the cornerstone of the world financial system could be shaken. I mean, it could be a revolution that just completely leaves America behind in the dust. And guess what? They're doing it. This from The Guardian this morning. U.S. dollar index slipped to a 3-year low, falling as much as 1.2%, and U.S. treasuries continue to sell off, with yields on the 10-year note jumping to 4.4%. as it's on course for its largest weekly rise since the early 2000s. This is dangerous, dangerous stuff. We have, and then in the corporate news, JP Morgan just put aside $973 million in the first quarter. Now, prior to Trump doing this, they had $72 million in their reserves. Their reserves are in case their clients start going bankrupt, can't meet margin calls and things like that. So Donald Trump has declared an international trade war, and I don't see how America can win a trade war. I mean, I have been saying for decades, that we need to bring manufacturing back home, and tariffs are one of the tools that you use to do it. But you don't do it this way. You don't do it stupidly like this. You don't rock the stock market by doing it. I mean, Joe Biden was increasing tariffs on a number of things. But he did it the right way. He did it carefully and thoughtfully. He did it in ways that are designed to bring business back, but not disrupt the entire international order. We will lose this war.